Hello and welcome to the World News Jam right here on DZRJ and RJTV. My name is LeCain, and I am joined as always with Lalie Tolentino, here to talk about stories going on around the world, to answer the questions that our viewers have sent in this week. You know, I usually always start the show by saying, hello, Lalie Tolentino, how are you doing? But today, let's talk more about me. I've been sick the entire week. Let's see if I can get a little sympathy here on the show for what I've had to go through this week. Lalie Tolentino, give me some of your sympathy. You know, everybody said, oh my God, Eric, you've got COVID. You've got COVID. You've got the new variant. You need to get yourself to the hospital. You got to get yourself checked out. And it turns out it wasn't COVID. It turns out it was a cold.
Okay. So that's funny because, now when they hear that you are coughing, get colds, they think that this is something like COVID. But it's not. But, with that colds, Eric, you look good, so don't worry about it. You're still at your best, so don't worry.
I knew I could rely on Lalie Tolentino to lift my spirits and tell me how great I look, even though I've been... Even though I have it's moving now. It started in the front of my nose, and now at the beginning of the week, it was running like a river, and now it's running like a river in the back of my nose. It's traveling around. It's doing its journey around me. So a lot of what I have been doing this week is laying in bed and watching Netflix. But
good for you.
When you got so tired of Netflix, what is there left to do in life? What can you do if you just cannot stand to watch Netflix another moment? Is lay in bed and look at Facebook. But I can't look at Facebook anymore because I've gotten really old and I can't see my phone. So now I have to use glasses. So I've been laying in bed all week with my glasses, looking at my Facebook. Making sure I get caught up on everything. My glasses from IQ Optical, which is great. They've gotten me a really good pair of glasses, and Lalie Tolentino also is wears her IQ Optical glasses. Now, the reason that I'm bringing this up is because I was talking to the people at IQ because I want to get another pair of glasses because they have a big sale going on right now, and I am really cheap. So I am going to try and buy my glasses during the sale. And one of the things they did say to me that if you come into the store and you say, I want to look like Eric LeCain or I want to look like Lalie Tolentino from the World News Jam, they'll give you an extra discount of 5% on pairs of glasses.
Great. That's a great deal, Eric. Okay, guys, why don't you go to IQ? So just mention Eric's name and my name and run away.
and then run away. Yeah, so they are down at Cash and Carry, which you can't miss. It's right there off the highway. Just walk into the mall and you'll walk around, just wander around until you find them. They're on the first floor there. And go in and get some glasses because I'm telling you, if you're getting old like me, you can't see anymore. You just need a pair of IQ Optical glasses.
Yes, that's great.
Now, speaking of glasses, Lalie Tolentino, can you read us the questions this week that our viewers have sent in?
Like I always said, Eric, I need to wear my glasses.
Oh, I love those glasses, aren't they?
I read my... you were reading the question that our viewers sent.
Yes.
Okay. So what do you think, Eric? Do I still look good in my pink reading glasses?
I have to say, between your reading glasses and being there in San Francisco, as I can see that you're in San Francisco right now, it's absolutely the perfect scene.
All right, thank you. All right, let's start with the question. Let's start from Mirna from Zamboanga. Oh my God, this is too far. What's the latest in the assassination of the Haiti president? American involved? Please share the story behind and who is in charge now.
Oh my goodness, can you believe this story, Lalie Tolentino? A group of mercenaries drove up to the residence of the president of Haiti and demanded to be let in, saying that they were DEA agents At about 1 a.m. in the morning, they stormed the residence and they shot the president 16 times. And then they shot his wife. But his wife survived. But the president of Haiti did not. Now, the question that the viewer had was, who's in charge of Haiti? Is it the acting prime minister, who was also being replaced by a man that the president had picked just before he was killed? Make things that make you go, and you know, in Haiti, that the president, he was waging a war against the opposition party in Haiti. He's always said that his term should last until 2022, but his critics said he should step down now because he's saying that he actually didn't start until 2017, so he gets 5 years. But even though he was elected in 2015, but because of the widespread voter fraud and they had to redo a bunch of things, whatever, he wasn't actually inducted into the president until 2017. So he's saying he gets a full 5 years and he doesn't have to step down until 2022. So he was fighting a lot of people about this. And I guess it was enough to get them to hire some mercenaries, two of which were American citizens, to drive up to his residence and shoot him. Now, this was not like, you know, just a couple of dudes that like came up with the idea, hey, let's kill the president. This was well thought out. There was a bunch of people. There were 13 retired Colombian Army personnel that were in this group. So 17 Colombians all and 2 Americans. The Americans were Haiti-born Americans that were naturalized in America. But, you know, so many questions remain. Who would hire a force this large to go in to shoot the president of Haiti? And what, you know, and all these people came in from outside of Haiti to kill this president. Where did they get the guns? And, you know, how did they get into the country so easily? I mean, this was a well-planned assassination. So right now, the country's out of control. The guy who is the prime minister, who's proclaimed himself a leader now, is asking UN troops to come in and help secure the borders and the courts and so forth. People are burning cars, which is very typical of Haiti. But wow, I mean, what a crazy story of how this president. Now, you would think that, especially in Haiti, and the fact that so many people do not like this president, that he would have security like crazy, and how a group was able to come in and just claim they were DEA agents and just walk in and shoot the president. I mean, they had a gunfight. There was a gunfight. You know, the police shot a couple of them, killed some of them, and they arrested a whole bunch of them. But they're still trying to find the ringleaders, the guys who planned this thing. And this may go on for a while. This is not going to end. And in the meantime, there's an election coming up in Haiti. So,
well, this all boils down to politics again. You know, if you don't like your leader and the leader doesn't want to step down and try and prolong his stay in power. So this thing is not a surprise to me at all, Eric.
If you don't like your president, just get a band of mercenaries from other countries together, somehow get in the country, somehow get a bunch of guns, somehow get jeeps and everything to go run in and have a plan of saying you're DE agents, and then you can kill the president. It just seems insane that this has happened.
Yes.
But, you know, things happen in countries like Haiti. So we'll just wait to see who's going to be the next leader of Haiti and what this is going to do to the elections.
But you know how many population Haiti has?
You know, I would need to find that out. It is not a big country, but and there was some issues before in the election where they thought that there was a widespread voter fraud, and they proved that there was. And so they had to redo a bunch of things in the election, which is why the president did not actually get sworn in to the office until 2017, so 2 years after he was supposed to be. So that's why he believes, or he believed, now that he's dead, he believed that he should have the full 5 years to 2022. And a lot of people said, no, that's, you know, once your time is up, your time is up. And so there was a constitutional debate going on in Haiti when this happened.
All right, let's move out of Haiti now. Let's go to Linda, Manila. Okay, your favorite subject. Is this true? Trump allegedly praised Hitler on doing a lot of good things. His idol, probably. Comment, please.
All right.
Linda is
now, I mean, it's true that a lot of past leaders are praised for the contributions they have made to the rest, even though the rest of the world looks at them as a killer. I can even use the Philippines as an example of this. But Hitler was always and will always remembered to be the leader who killed millions and millions of Jews. However, Donald Trump seems to would like to remember him as a man who did a lot of good things. And this stems from a new book that's out about Trump. There are books coming out like gangbusters now about Trump, and that he was having a conversation with the then Chief of Staff John Kelly to commemorate the armistice for World War I in Paris. And he was very persistent in defending Hitler, the German leader at the time. But of course, you know, Trump says that he never said this. He's claiming, oh, well, this story must be told by some general that I fired. But they, you know, the guy who wrote this book, he has a lot of sources that said that, you know, Trump indeed praised Hitler multiple times, and that he one time wanted his voters to hold up their right hand and pledge their support to Trump. You know, like a Heil Trump kind of thing. So anyway, when Trump said this, John Kelly said, hey, man, you can't say this. You know, even if Hitler brought the economy of Germany back up, which he did, you know, Hitler did some good things. He built the Autobahn, you know, got the economy rolling. But, you know, okay, so he did a couple of, you know, he did some good things for Germany, but he also killed millions and millions of Jews. So, you know, John Kelly was saying, hey, you know what? We can't, just don't say this. Don't say it out loud in front of anybody. And this goes along to the story of Trump watching the videos out of Oregon when the violence was going on and the police were beating people, and they had videos of people beating people. And he says, yes, crack their skulls. And he'd love to see this. And he said, you know what we should do? We should send the military in to beat the F out of these civil rights protesters. So this is similar to what Hitler did during, you know, his time in office. And this book, it cites different sources saying all these things about Trump and how he, you know, did things that were Hitler-like and how he praised the German leader.
Okay, so I don't want to read that book.
Heil Trump. Somehow it doesn't have the same flavor as it did with Heil Hitler. I don't know. It just seems like maybe
yeah,
we
you know, sometimes that's why I don't like
else.
reading books anymore, because I don't know if what they're saying they are true, because they can fabricate stories. I know that for a fact.
You know, the only problem with writing a book about Trump is you better get your facts straight, because even if you print the truth, a lot of times he will sue you anyway. And so Trump is ready to sue no matter what. So at least get most of your facts somewhat correct, because otherwise you're going to get sued by Trump. So a lot of these books I kind of have to take them with, you know, a little bit more than a grain of salt, because you know, a lot of these guys, you know, they have sources. They have lots of sources that they have in order to write these books, because they don't want to get sued.
Yeah. Okay, guys, be careful before writing. Now let's move to Inday of Cebu. Why did scientists condemn UK dangerous and unethical reopening plan? What is this?
You know, this is interesting, isn't it? Over 4,000 scientists, doctors, nurses, they signed a letter condemning the government's decision to drop the pandemic control measures there in the UK. They believe that this new policy that is happening now in the UK is dangerous. And they saying that they should delay the opening until everybody's been vaccinated. So many are worried about the children, saying that the government is putting all the children in danger, and this is unethical, this is unacceptable. But the government's going through with it. The government's going to do it. Boris Johnson said July 19th will be known as Freedom Day, and he is going to open up the country on that. The final decision still hasn't been made, but it will be made on the 12th of January. July 12th. And they're going to open it all on July 19th. Boris, what he's thinking is, or what he said was, if we don't open now, when are we going to open? So what does this mean? Well, wearing a mask, social distancing, working from home, that's now going to be up to you, whether you want to wear a mask or not. If you want to wear a mask, if you want to social distance, you can, but it's not required anymore.
Wow. Okay. At least in the Philippines we're better off because at least we're following something. Because I don't know if they have the same protocol that we're doing here. Like, okay, now we are GCQ, okay, and the government allowing people to go out, something like that. But if they do that in UK, I mean, everything will be open. I find it really scary because we are not done yet with the pandemic. So still, there's danger.
Yeah, the medical community is asking for a middle ground. Like, okay, let's not just completely open and just forget that the pandemic is even going on. Let's, continue maybe wearing masks or, putting in ventilation systems in the school, something like that. Because right now, there's actually a rise in cases in the UK. And if they lift this ban, many people are saying it's open season on the new variant. The new variant's going to sweep in and just, take over the country because not enough people have been vaccinated yet in the UK. But, Boris Johnson is like, you know what, we got to do this. And so, they're going to make the final decision on the 12th, but it looks pretty much like they're going to go ahead and just lift all the restrictions in the UK. And, I think that this could be a smart move, and this could be a disaster. And Boris Johnson's taking a big chance by doing this. And, right now, Pfizer came out last week and said that they're going to start recommending a third dose of the vaccine because of this, this new variant that they're not sure exactly how it's reacting to the vaccine. And so now they're recommending, like, instead of 2 doses, you have 3.
Wow. All right, Eric. So for us, we should not travel yet to UK in the next months or year. They're going to do this.
Yeah, I don't understand why they feel the need to do that. I think what they should do is find a middle ground. Like find the middle somewhere. Maybe, you can have gatherings in restaurants, or you can, go to the malls, but, you still have to wear a mask. We're all used to wearing masks now anyway. I don't see the problem with doing something in the middle just to be safe, better safe than sorry, because we're already doing it anyway. And that's my 2 cents on that. I wish Boris would listen to us and watch the World News Jam and take our advice.
I'll text him later to watch our show. Anyway,
text him later.
Let's go to Pet of Marikina. How do you know if you have phone addiction and the way to address it? Okay, so at least we have a different topic. How would you know, Eric?
I'm going to answer this question because I may have this problem slightly, but I'm not going to admit it. But, if you don't have your phone, in your hand, or it's not near you, and you're nervous, or you have anxiety, there may be a problem. They're saying, phone addiction is not a real thing yet. It's not alcoholism, and it's not drug abuse, and it's not violence against your spouse. But maybe it should be an addiction, because some people nowadays are just on their phone to the point where it is not well, where they cannot not be looking at their phone. And this is a troublesome issue amongst young people, that they can't, not look at their phone. And I see a lot of people like this, especially young people. They're sitting on the thing and everybody's reading their phone, but their whole lives are on their phone. And it used to be, we're on our computer all the time. But when you're on your computer, you can get up and walk away. And you got to go eat, and you got to go do this. You can't bring your computer everywhere, but you can bring your phone everywhere you go. And I know people who I go out to dinner with, and they put their phone right next to their plate, and they cannot stop looking at it the entire meal. And there's nothing more annoying than trying to talk to somebody, and they're looking at their phone, and you're saying something, and they're typing something at the same time. But, I think that, some people cannot, and I just know so many people like this. They cannot have a conversation with you without looking at their phone. And I know, Lalie, you know people like this too.
A lot of them.
And, people say that, if it gets that bad, where, try it. See if you can walk to 7-Eleven and not bring your phone. See if you can go to bed at night without putting your phone in your bed with you. And, set a timer on your phone. And they have these applications for this. You set a timer on your phone that says, okay, now you can't look at your phone for 2 hours. And, see, and I wonder how many people can do this. Can you go to the mall? Can you spend a day at the mall, go shopping at the mall without your phone?
For me, I can do that. It's a matter of, Eric, for me, this is what I can share to that. It's a matter of you have to discipline yourself. Because if I know a lot of people really, they're holding their phones everywhere they go. They keep looking, back and forth, checking their messages. Then I remember, I think last year or the other year, in somewhere in Ortigas, there are a few restaurants that they made a rule. When you get into that restaurant, they give you a little kind of basket that all of you should put your phone there. All right, from the time you get in, you put your your phone, and then after you eat and you are planning to go out, then they can give it back to you. I think there's a matter of discipline, because now the question is how to address it. It's a discipline. You have to put it in your mind that you have to discipline yourself in using phone. Because personally, I also, my phone is also beside my bed, at night, because that's where my, alarm clock is.
Yeah, I mean, we rely on our phones so much for so many things, but, there comes a point where there's a balance. And I know I have gone over that balance sometimes, and I've caught myself. And I'm having a conversation with somebody, and I'm looking at my phone, and I'm like, how rude is this? What I'm doing right now? And or you're in a you're in a group setting or whatever, and it's just bing, 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 bing. Sometimes spend the whole day, turn off your notifications, turn them all off, and just see what it's like to go through life without hearing a bing every 5 minutes. It's almost like that's our glass of wine. Or that's our, shot of heroin is the only thing I can think of whatever drug you may take. But it's becoming like that. And the thing is, it's I believe in some ways it's hurting the youth of the world. That, so much of us rely on this tiny little thing, and we need to learn to talk to each other again and get out of the house. And so, I don't know, that's my 2 cents. I know this, I did not go into this scientifically, this question, and we could spend a lot of time on it and go into, different psychiatrists and what they say and whatever, but I just wanted to give my, we didn't spend a whole lot of time on it, just my 2 cents worth, and I think that is, you're exactly right what you said. And, these people that have to have their phone in the bed with them, I think that is the, you need to see if you can sleep one time without your phone.
Mm-hmm. And you know what I do now before I go to sleep? I put it in silent. So I will not be bothered by, some people were sending you text in the middle of the night. and somebody, is press the button and it keeps ringing on my side, and it was just my mistake. So I woke up by that mistake.
Give yourself some sleep.
Yes, put it in silent or turn it off. Okay, let's go to manual passing. Okay. Can you name the world's most powerful passport for 2021 and why? Passport, Eric.
Interesting question. Lalie, we did a piece on this a while ago on the Henley Passport Index, and it was just released about what are the most powerful passports. And what they say, what this is based on, really, is where you can go. So what country are you from that you can go to the most places? And how many countries are you allowed to visit? And who is the most welcome country around the world? And it is Japan. Japan. Who has access to 193 countries. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of countries. So if you're Japanese, you're the most welcome person in the world. And next up is Singapore, and then I believe it's Germany, and South Korea, and Italy, and Spain, Luxembourg, and Finland. But, when you think of what is the most powerful passport, what we always say? We always say USA. USA is the most powerful passport. But is it really the most powerful passport? Because you really, a lot of these countries are tied. They're tied for third. They're tied for, fourth and fifth. And the United States is down there tied for seventh. They're not exactly in seventh place. They're just, there's a whole bunch of countries ahead of them. But, people are just, they don't like Americans like they like the Japanese. And so Americans can only go to 187 destinations. Now the Philippines, it took me a while to find where the Philippines was. I had to look at a couple different indexes. They are somewhere in the 50s. One of them has them at 53. I don't whether that matters or not. But it's an interesting thing to look at. It's an interesting thing to look at because we're all thinking about, let's get to the United States. We got to get our United States citizenship. But, being a Japanese is actually might be the way to go these days.
Yeah. So now I think I would change my passport to Japanese passport instead of U.S. passport.
The only problem with having a Japanese passport, you got to learn to speak Japanese. Man, Japanese is a hard language to learn.
Okay, what I can only do, Eric, is to eat the Japanese food.
Yes. I want my Japanese passport because I really love Japanese food.
Yes,
give me some sushi. I haven't had sushi in a year.
Okay. One year President-elect Ibrahim Raisi said he will not meet with President Biden. Scared?
Oh, wow. All right. I don't think he's scared. I don't think he wants to enter another deal with the United States. He is the newly elected leader there in Iran. And he doesn't want to negotiate Iran's ballistic missile program. No, he doesn't want to go back to the nuclear deal, especially after the United States made the deal and then Trump backed out of the deal. And everybody said, you know what, you can't trust the United States anymore because they'll make a deal and then a new guy is elected president and then the deal is no good anymore. So, this guy was voted in the position of president after, all the other candidates were banned from running. So, it's another one of those elections. In fact, during the elections, most people boycotted the election. They had the lowest turnout they have ever had in Iran. And people who did go to vote just didn't choose a candidate for president. And why is that? I mean, this guy he's a hardliner. He's the protege of the Ayatollah Khomeini. So who knows what's going to happen now in Iran. So his being elected has made relationships with the United States very, very complicated. The sanctions are still in place because there's no deal on the building of nuclear weapons. So the people of Iran are suffering, but they are, slowly getting a nuclear weapon. They don't have one yet. I think they're trying to enrich uranium now. because the deal is off, and they can do it now. And this whole issue about the ballistic missiles, they're like, it's non-negotiable. We are going to have a ballistic missile program, and it doesn't matter if you guys cut off, everything. We can't buy washing machines anymore. I mean, the sanctions are really hurting the people of Iran. But that leader, they said, are you going to meet with the United States? And he said, no.
Well, he might change his mind later on, but you never know. But let's see.
Iran almost had a nuclear meltdown. One of their plants almost had a nuclear meltdown, and they said that the reason that we had almost had a nuclear meltdown is because the United States sanctions. We can't buy the parts that we need to fix our nuclear plants. And so what they're doing now in Iran is they're starting to build relationships with other countries and trying to bypass the United States. They're making like some kind of bargain now with Saudi Arabia, which I never saw that coming. But he doesn't want to give an inch with the United States. He thinks they can do it without the United States, and that's going to make the security around the world, make us all a little nervous, especially if Iran manages to find out a way to get themselves a nuclear weapon.
Okay, Iran. Okay, you don't want to meet with Biden? I'll meet up. Okay.
Come on, Iran. Lalie Tolentino will meet you. But
okay, let's go to my town of Manila. Okay. Oh, this is an interesting question. Did you watch the American Got Talent? A cancer patient who was given 2% chance to survive wins Simon Cowell's Golden Buzzer, sang Night Birdie, who gave a message of hope to cancer patients, inspired millions of people around the world, touched by her voice, talent, courage, etc. Jane Night Birdie Marskowski?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how to say her last name, but anyone who has Facebook has seen this girl sing. Because, they posted this thing after she sang the song, It's Okay. She came on the show. She has cancer. She has beaten cancer like 3 times already, and then she has it again, something like that. She told her story and then sang this very simple song. It's a very quiet song. Very, not one of these, usually on American Idol, they have these singers that go, have all these technical, runs that they do and like a big giant key change and everything. This was not that. It was very quiet, very simple song, and everybody cried. And her husband left her when she got cancer. I mean, this woman has gone through so many, and she's this frail little woman, and, her hair is just now coming back. And I think it was last week or last month, her song, It's Okay, hit #1 on the iTunes chart.
Wow, that's why. I mean, probably the message that, she showed to people, the sympathy, that she got a lot of sympathy from all over, and, and Simon Cowell, all the people. I mean, you know how this guy is.
Golden Buzzer.
Yeah, Golden Buzzer. Wow. If I get a chance to join the American Got Talent, Eric, you better press the Golden Buzzer for me.
But I mean, if you have not heard this song, if you haven't heard the song, go to YouTube and type in this woman's name and listen to the song, and let me know if you can get through the song without crying. Because it is one of those songs that just goes into your ears and down into your bloodstream and into your heart, and there's just nothing you can do. But, tears will just start coming out of your eyes, because this is just, it's one of those songs. And songs like that literally come along once in, decades. And so I think they were right in giving her the Golden Buzzer, the story, the song, everything. It just all kind of, goes together. And now she is one of the most famous people in the world. And she's opened our eyes to people who have cancer, and people who survive cancer and what they have to go through. So, she has cancer right now in the lungs, the liver, the lip nodes, the spine. So she's still fighting it. But it's just one of those stories that comes along every once in a while where, and like I said, a song that comes along every once in a while, and if you have not heard it, prepare yourself. Get yourself in a room by yourself, because you're not going to be able to get through it without crying.
Yeah, well, because that touches me also because of my sister who had cancer.
I know.
All right. Let's go to Renato Mufati. Okay. Do you think President Duterte is seriously thinking of running as vice president? Do you think he is serious?
First of all, Duterte, why? Why? I mean, why bother? What more can you accomplish as vice president and, you've done as president? And, he's not allowed to run as president. So what happens if the person who is president dies or is killed? I don't know. There's a lesson in constitutional law here, because I don't think the Philippines knows. They didn't think of this. I don't think when they wrote the Constitution, they didn't think, hey, you know what? What if the president runs for vice president afterwards and then becomes president again? And a lot of people are, there's one thing that a lot of people are saying it can't be ignored is if he wins as vice president, he will not be open for prosecution anymore. We can't ignore that. I mean, being vice president will shield him from being prosecuted. And I'm sure he's going to be prosecuted by somebody. A lot of people have threatened around the world that they're going to go after Duterte once he gets out of office. Now, of course, the question is, who's going to be president if Duterte becomes the vice president? And I know we have talked about Lalie Tolentino about you being the president, but I think Chris Goes, Sarah Duterte. Of course, they all say they aren't running, but that's what everybody says. Everybody says, "Oh, I'm not running."
Yeah, this is just political, tactical, thing, a strategy, whatever. We don't know yet till they file to the candidacy, so we'll just wait and see about this one.
I mean, it wasn't a couple of weeks ago we were thinking Manny Pacquiao with Duterte as the vice president, but then Manny Pacquiao is on the he's not the BFF anymore.
This is our political chaos. Anyway, okay, now let's go to Pastor Ed for passing.
I guess we're moving away from that question.
What would be the impact on Pacquiao's presidential bid if he will lose his fight this August?
Well, first of all, Manny, I don't think you should run for president. That's just me. Because, Manny has one of the greatest legacies of all time, not only in the Philippines, but around the world. And I'm not sure why Manny wants to be the president. But if he wins this fight, yes, that is definitely, without a doubt, going to increase his chances to become president. If he loses the fight, yeah, maybe it's gonna harm him a little bit, because it's hard to watch Manny lose because we're not used to it. We're not used to seeing Manny lose. And Manny lost some really big fights, and then he came back and won some really tough fights afterwards. And he's getting old, but he's still the number one for me. And I don't want to see him lose this fight. I know a lot of people don't, because if he loses the fight, can he fight again? Can he end on a win? And we all want Manny to end his career on a win. And if he is going to make this play for presidency, I think, right now, Manny, I thought that he was on his way to the presidency. Now he's got himself into a little bit of political winch, I guess, as you could say, by saying that there's corruption in the Duterte administration. And now he and Duterte are kind of battling out at each other now. So I don't know what that's going to play into. But probably the two most popular people in the Philippines are Duterte and Manny Pacquiao.
Okay, Eric, when you talk to Manny when he comes back, tell him to talk to me. I am going to tell him, Manny, don't run as president. Stay where you are right now, so you're better off.
And I don't mean this in a bad way, because I love Manny Pacquiao, but if Manny Pacquiao wins the presidency, it's going to look a little odd to the rest of the world.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. That's why. That's what I meant. I want him, people looking down on him because of what he. I know his heart. I know he wants to help people, but it's not
I know.
for him.
Manny's a good guy.
For me personally.
Yeah.
For me. Okay, Pastor Ed, let's wait and see. All right, let's go to Dawn of Pasay. Philippines was recently ranked the most dangerous country in the world. What do you think? You want me to answer this first?
Go ahead.
The answer is no. I will explain later. What about you? What do you think, Eric?
I think that she is talking about something that was released last week. And it doesn't say that the Philippines is the most dangerous. It is the most unsafe. There's a slight difference, I think, because the article that came out, it comes out in Global Finance, comes out every year. It's called World's Safest Countries. And so this year, the article is called World's Safest Countries 2021. And the Philippines ranks dead last out of 134 countries, below Yemen and Colombia and Venezuela. So I had to look up this article because it is all over Facebook this week. I have seen it probably 30 times on my Facebook. And it takes into account war and peace, personal security, national disaster risk. But in 2021, it takes into account COVID-19. And of course, this is the 2021 list, so it means that they're looking at the data from 2020. But it says in the article, they're actually looking at some of the data from 2021. And their findings have a lot to do with the Philippines' poor handling of the virus and their vaccine rate. COVID, the problems with government-involved killings, volcanoes, typhoons, the issues of kidnapping, insurgencies in Mindanao, terrorism. I mean, this is all what they put together that puts the Philippines at the absolute bottom of the list of the most unsafe countries.
Well, too bad. But, if you live in the Philippines, Eric, you've been living in the Philippines for more than 10 years. You know how it is here. So,
yes.
With everything that's going on in the country, it depends where you are in the country. That's why I'm going to defend this issue that, Philippines is, not, they consider it not safe. I don't think so.
There's certain things that you have no control over. There's certain things you have no control over, Lalie. The government has no control over. I mean, the volcano. The typhoons. I mean, the COVID. I mean, okay, the COVID. The government had some control, and they made some mistakes, and there's been some issues with the vaccine. So, I mean, a lot of these things, it's difficult.
Yeah, all of this. You know what? I'm sure even other countries are having problems with this, but it's just not publicized. It's just because there's a question that we need to answer that question because we have people, friends all over the world watching our show, Eric. That's why I need to defend this, this issue.
Okay, Lalie.
Philippines is still safe to come.
Here's what I want you to do. I'm going to read some things, and I want to get your opinion on it because the World Press Freedom Report put the Philippines at 138 for issues relating to reporter safety, and then Bloomberg Global on economics put Philippines at 52 out of 53. The Global Witness recorded that the Philippines had the highest number of land rights environmental people killed among Asian countries and the second highest in the world behind Colombia. So, you need to also comment on how the world is looking at the Philippines and what they see. Yeah, I know what we see. I know what I see living in my condo, that I do in Manila, and the safety that I feel in that place. But what the world sees is a different story.
Yeah, that's why, what they see and what they heard is just something in the news. Not everything in the news are correct. So that's why,
these reporters
you
were
have
killed.
to be here to know the truth. Okay? You have to experience something maybe for you to be able to say something negative about the country. Yes, we are not a perfect country, but Philippines is still the best place to come. There's still a lot of foreigners who want to come to the Philippines and want to live and retire in the Philippines. Then we have issues here, but we still have, if you have money, this is the best place for you to live in the Philippines because still a lot of things are affordable, like any other countries. But people outside should not only look at the figures of what they've read on the paper. The truth is right here in the country. They need to come to see for themselves. That's why a lot of people, when they come here, they say, oh, I want to settle down here. Oh, I want to be here. Because they see something. So it doesn't mean that we are, this question that's why I was shocked with this question. No, we're not. We're not perfect country, but we have a lot of things to offer.
Yeah, I mean, and this would be in the safest countries in the world. The Philippines is ranked dead last for the second time in a row. And I analyzed this article and I went through it, and they do make some interesting points because they make points of things that we don't think about. I don't think about the volcanoes. I guess, it's unsafe for people who live near the volcanoes. And I guess it's unsafe for people that live in the typhoon zones. And I guess it's unsafe for the reporters that are trying to report on things down in Mindanao, or the environmental people that have been killed. And these are things, these are true stories. And so I think that's where they make their thing from. As far as coming to the Philippines and living here, I think it's great. I mean, it's a beautiful country. It's so many things that the Philippines has to offer as far as a place to retire or a place to vacation to for foreigners, and even for people who live in the Philippines. It's just like, I said, these things that they use as the criteria for these studies, it looks pretty harsh.
Okay. Tell them to talk to me again.
Talk to Lalie Tolentino.
All right, now
give her a piece.
Let's go to. All right,
a piece of her mind.
Let's go. Okay, from Marino Pasay, another new variant Lambda. Hope this will not enter the Philippines. Government should be very strict in letting foreigners or Filipinos traveling back from outside the Philippines. We don't need another strict lockdown, and Filipinos should be really careful. Agree?
Okay, this is a problem. You finally get a grip on the virus, which the Philippines is now finally getting a grip on this thing, kinda, and then it changes, and then it changes, and then it changes again, and now you have something different altogether, and now this thing is coming into the Philippines, and the Delta variant. Many are worried they be coming, or is already here in the Philippines, because it's in 100 countries already. And in some cases, it's surpassed the original virus in many, as far as numbers of cases in many countries. And the Delta variant is said to be 55% more contagious than the original, and 1.8 times more likely to be you're more likely to be hospitalized if you get the Delta variant rather than the regular COVID. And then this issue about the vaccine effectiveness of the new variant and whether it's going to work. And after spending all this time working on this vaccine, only to find out that the effectiveness is cut in half because of some variant. And now we have another variant, the new variant, the Delta Plus. And that, will increase your rate of infection. So, what else can go wrong? Welcome the new Lambda variant. I mean, come on. I mean, one headache after the other. This one originated in South America, somewhere around Peru. And this one is very concerning in its ability for the variant to bypass the antibody system. So, it can escape the antibodies that you have produced, or the antibodies that you have been given by the vaccine. It can sometimes get around these antibodies. And this is what has worried a lot of people about this particular variant.
Okay. Again, we will always say all of us should be very, very careful wherever we are and whatever we're doing.
I mean, how bad? I mean, I just have to say, right now, the Philippines is just kind of getting up on the horse to ride out of COVID town. And if this thing hits the Philippines hard, like it has several other countries, like it has in the UK, I mean, the horse is going to turn around and run in the opposite direction and leave us to standing there. So this is, the Philippines cannot turn around and stop wearing masks. And I have to say, just as an example, I was in a place the other day and nobody was wearing a mask.
Oh my God.
I don't say where, but it was one of these bars that you go in. My friends invited me over to do some karaoke, and I walked in, and I was the only person in the whole place with a mask on. So, people had masks on around their chin. So, we don't want this thing to blow up in our faces, and especially because the variants are changing and changing and changing. So, everybody, be vigilant.
Yeah, I hate to hear this, because all of us want to be out again, all of us without masks, but let's cooperate. Do what we have to do right now while we still have the variant, while there's still a lot of people who are not yet vaccinated. So people, my goodness. Okay. If you're tired of wearing masks and face shield, me too. But let's do the right thing.
Yes.
All right,
everybody's tired of it.
Let's go to Fidela Pontilupa. What is your analysis of the Philippine economy now, and what is your suggestion for Filipinos so they can contribute to the growth?
All right. This is a great question that we really do need to ask and we need to analyze. The Philippine economy has shrank by much more than anyone expected that it would. And here we are in the first quarter going into the second quarter of 2021. The GDP fell. The Philippines is expected to be Asia's slowest economy to recover. Unemployment is not expected to change that much. So when can the Philippines look to get back to the starting gate of where they were before the pandemic hit? And, you don't think about the fact that 2021 is half over. Wait a minute, what happened? And the inflation rate in the Philippines is not slowing down. People don't have money to spend. And what happens when people don't have money to spend and the price of pork, goes beyond the price of rice starts to go beyond the price of gas? So when is the economy going to get back to normal? And people are saying, 2022 maybe. And then some people are saying 10 years from now. So I think the question is, what do we do? What is the administration doing now to fix this? Because, the current administration has been criticized by economists around the world for their mismanagement of the economy during the time of COVID. And I'm trying not to give my opinion. I'm just, reiterating what a lot of economists have already said about the Philippines. And actually, they were not looking that great before COVID started. So once COVID got in, the economy has been, taking a kind of a dive off the cliff. There's the issue of the vaccine, which is still causing a lot of problems. It's doing great, but, the rollout of vaccine hasn't gone good at all. Healthcare in general recently has shown that it is one of the poorest in the region. So the Philippines has to take a step back and look at all these things and try and figure out how to fix it. And I believe the question was, how can we fix the Philippines? We as a whole. And we have talked about this before, and Lalie Tolentino, you have given us this advice that we need to do it together. As we have said many times before, this is the only way to get this country out of this, because we cannot rely just on the government. Now, one of the things that the government could do, and this is, now we're getting into my opinions, is income equality. I think that is one of the things that's going to help the economy, and I'm not the only one. A lot of people think this, create better employment laws in the Philippines and start trying to see if you can get closer to that $1,000 a day minimum wage. And I know people are going, 1,000, but, it stands to reason that this is how to get the economy going again. The economy cannot get going if money is not changing hands. Fix the export laws. Create a middle-class society. Switch to a digital society, which means going to the rural areas and putting internet in. And, they have this thing now called GCash, which is great. I mean, they need more of this. These are steps that they need to take in order to get this economy rolling again. And The credit system, I can go on and on about the credit system in the Philippines, but this is one of the things that they need to work on. And once they work on this, and once they get internet into rural areas, then it's up to the people. It's up to the people to start working together, because they will create jobs, online jobs, which is, the Philippines is perfect for that. We were kind of doing that anyway. The way that, the world is able to utilize the Philippine workforce for online IP phone, businesses. And I think that now that we have learned a lot about how to use IP phones at home to work, and how people are starting to do sales online, now it's the time to bring in, a digital society. People that pay for things online. And I think that is what is going to turn this country around. Because, the Philippines is a Facebook country. They spend most of their time on Facebook. And so the problem that the Philippines has is they have the slowest, most expensive internet. And this has got to change. And I think, I have to say the administration is doing steps to combat this problem.
Mm-hmm. All right. That's your point. Okay. The additional, point to that, Eric, is this. Okay. We need to, for the economy to really move this, we have to let people go out and spend. There's still a lot of people who has money in the country, but they're holding their money. And most people don't have money anymore since the pandemic. So how can these people without money go out and spend? They don't have money. So private sector, government, should do something about it. Give money, not really like giving the money to people. Just create something so they can generate income, so they can spend to make the economy rolling. Because if people are, don't have money, we will not go out. How are we going to go out? When you go out, you have to spend, right?
Well, the economy cannot get better if we don't spend money. I mean, that's the bottom line. If money doesn't change hands, the economy will sit still.
Right. Okay. If I remember correct, during the 9/11, what did President Bush? This is what he said. I remember correctly. He said, okay, because a lot of people, I think they were scared to go out.
Yeah.
What he said was, go out and spend.
Yes.
Same concept. Like, we still have friends who has money, but they hold their money. They're helping, but very little help.
Well,
so if you spend just 1,000 pesos for somebody, but you still have more, so it will not go that far. It will not.
Yeah, I mean, here again, they need to change employment laws. They need to change the way that foreign companies can start businesses in the Philippines. They need to work on their export-import laws, and a lot of these things will open up to jobs. Jobs is the key element to a lot of this, and creating the middle-class society, which I have talked about many times on the show before, and getting to that $1,000 a day minimum wage. And I know people get shocked every time I say that, but this is what the goal needs to be. The Philippines can't sit at $500 a day. It's just not enough money in the world today for a person to be able to survive, and for the company to start rolling over more. So I think that is, something that needs to happen. They need to change these laws to bring in foreign investment, and to get all those people that are living up in those fancy houses there in Makati to start, doing businesses again, and rolling the money around into the people, because that's going to change things. The key element to this is we have to get people working, and we have to get people working at a wage that they can have money to spend, that they can go to the mall.
Yes.
Because, right now the malls are hurting like crazy. I mean, they're hemorrhaging money. There's so much plywood covering up the windows in the malls. I mean, it looks like a hardware store. So, I mean, this is something that they need to change. Whether this administration is able to do it or the next administration, I think this needs to be the priority once the country is vaccinated and COVID starts working its way out the door.
Yeah. And, okay, the last piece, or the last one I'm going to say is this. Change our mindset as Filipinos so we can move forward with our
Everybody out there, listen to Lalie Tolentino. That is the best advice I've heard all week. And on that note, Lalie, we are going to have to say goodbye because we are out of time. But thanks to all the people that wrote the greatest questions this week. We love the questions that come in. We have some of the smartest listeners, I think, on television here. So for me, Eric LeCain and Lalie Tolentino here on the World News Jam on DZRJ and RJTV. We will be back next week. So everybody, please be safe out there, and we'll see you